Admiral Zeftar of the Hegemony's First Fleet watched the blue-green marble of Earth rotate slowly beneath his flagship's viewports. Around him, 3,000 vessels from 17 different species formed an impenetrable sphere around the Huo, human homeworld. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. "Curious," chirped his intelligence officer, a mantis-like Krixtai. "They're not surrendering. Our quantum wave broadcasts have been transmitting surrender terms for 6 rotations now." Zeftar's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The humans had only 200 ships defending their world, primitive vessels that shouldn't have lasted 5 minutes against hegemony technology. Yet somehow, impossibly, they had been holding the line for days. "Perhaps they don't understand," suggested his tactical coordinator, her translator rendering the Veltari's harmonic speech into standard Galactic. "Their translation matrices might be incompatible with civilized communication protocols." The Admiral's tail twitched in annoyance. Humans had been the galaxy's greatest mystery since first contact 3 cycles ago. They came from a world so hostile that most species required environmental suits just to visit its surface. Class 12 Deathworld, the xenobiologists had classified it, a planet where everything from the weather to the wildlife seemed designed to kill any rational life form, yet humans thrived there. More than thrived. They had turned their hellish world into something they called home. "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." On screen, the main display flickered, revealing the weathered face of a human female. Her skin was marked with scars, her hair was gray as asteroid dust, and her eyes held something that made Zeftar's spine chitin crawl. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," she said, her voice carrying a strange quality the Ao. Translator struggled to interpret. "You have 15 minutes to withdraw from our space." The bridge fell silent. Several officers' breathing apparatus wheezed in what might have been laughter. 15 minutes? Zeftar activated his own transmitter. "Human, you are surrounded by 3,000 ships. Your civilization ends today unless you surrender unconditionally." The human's expression didn't change. 14 minutes. 53 seconds. The transmission cut. "Arrogant creatures," hissed his tactical coordinator. "Shall we demonstrate our firepower? A few orbital strikes might encourage reason." Before Zeftar could respond, proximity alarms screamed throughout the fleet. The tactical display exploded with new contacts, thousands of them, emerging from what appeared to be empty space. "Report." Zeftar's voice cracked with authority and fear. "They're everywhere, sir. Ships decloaking throughout our formation. How did our sensors miss them?" Zeftar stared at the display in growing horror. The human ships weren't just appearing randomly. They had somehow positioned themselves perfectly to exploit every gap in his formation, every blind spot in his fleet's defensive grid. It was tactically impossible. No species had that kind of spatial awareness. But then again, no species came from a world where predators could strike from any angle at any moment. "Incoming transmission from all human vessels," the communications officer reported. The main screen divided into dozens of feeds, each showing a different human captain. Men and women of various ages and appearances, but all sharing the same unsettling calm. Admiral Chen's voice spoke for all of them. "You wanted to see why we're called Deathworlders. The human fleet attacked. What followed wasn't a battle. It was a lesson in applied violence that the galaxy would never forget. Human ships moved with impossible coordination, as if they shared a single mind. They attacked in patterns that defied conventional tactics, switching between aggressive charges and defensive feints with fluid precision. The hegemony's weapons, designed for civilized warfare between rational species, proved inadequate against opponents who had evolved in constant conflict with their own planet. Human ships absorbed damage that should have destroyed them and kept fighting. When their weapons failed, they used their ships as weapons. When their ships were crippled, the crews kept broadcasting targeting data to their allies. Zeftar watched, his mighty fleet crumble as a human destroyer, Its hull breached in 17 places, rammed itself into a hegemony dreadnought 3 times its size. The explosion lit up space like a newborn star. "They're insane," whispered his intelligence officer. "No rational species fights like this." That's why they win, Zeftar realized. His own people had evolved on a peaceful world where cooperation meant survival. The Krixtai came from a planet where the greatest danger was seasonal storms. Even the warrior caste Veltari had never faced anything worse than territorial disputes. But humans came from Earth, a world that had spent 4 billion years perfecting the art of killing. Every day of their evolution had been a battle against predators, parasites, diseases, disasters, and each other. They hadn't just survived their death world, they had embraced it, learned from it, become it. Within 2 hours, half of the hegemony fleet was destroyed or disabled. The remainder scattered in full retreat, abandoning their wounded in their desperate flight from the nightmare they had unleashed. Admiral Chen's voice followed them into the void. "Next time you see a death world, remember, we're not trapped there with the universe. The universe is trapped there with us." Zeftar survived to file his report, though he never served in active command again. His account became required reading at every military academy in the galaxy, always ending with the same warning. The humans call their world Earth. They call it home. They call it paradise. We call it a Class 12 death world, where nothing should be able to live. Perhaps we're both right. From that day forward, no species ever again made the mistake of underestimating the children of Earth. The galaxy learned to fear not just humanity's weapons or their ships, but something far more terrifying. Their absolute refusal to surrender, born from a world that had taught them that surrender meant death. In the end, the hegemony's greatest victory had been their failure to destroy humanity. They had given the galaxy its first glimpse of what happens when evolution's most successful predators decide to reach for the stars. The Deathworlders had come home to the cosmos, and the cosmos would never be the same.